Alright, chat man, what's good, man? We today got 15 things you didn't know about Al Capone, man. And if you know about Al Capone, what movie was made out to him? If you know, put in the comment section, man. But let's go and get into this joint.
Hello, Aluxers. This is a special series we're doing all week here at Alux, where every day we're showcasing the life of one of the most memorable mobsters. Enjoy it. Today we're looking at 15 things you didn't know about Al Capone. Welcome to alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get informed. Hey there, Aluxers. Today we're revealing some interesting, lesser-known facts about the infamous, much-loved, most feared Prohibition-era gangster crime boss, Al Capone. Alphonse Gabriel Capone was born to Italian immigrants January 17, 1899, in Brooklyn, New York. He was impoverished, lived in the slums, and became involved with gangs. He soon rose to top boss of the criminal organizations in Chicago at just 26 years old. He built a criminal empire that was worth over $1 billion, mainly through bootlegging and prostitution. He lived with extreme flamboyance until he was imprisoned for nearly a decade in 1932. He was released 9 years later and returned home to his mansion and family in Florida, where he suffered a stroke in 1947. He then contracted pneumonia and shortly thereafter died of cardiac arrest at just 48. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Alux. He had a passion for power and pursued it to the fullest. So it's time now to take a look at the ultimate Italian mafioso archetypal legend with the 15 things you didn't know about Al Capone. Number 1. He was expelled from school for punching a female teacher in the face. Capone was a good student and did well in his studies, but he disagreed with the strict rules being enforced by his Catholic school. When he was just 14 years old, he struck a female teacher in the face over a dispute and was immediately expelled. It was after joining the gangs that he started to become involved in criminal activities, which peaked when he met his first mafia mentor. Capone decided to join a larger gang and teamed up with the notorious 5 Points gang of Manhattan. From there, he became heavily involved in even more serious illegal activities and began to earn his own recognition amongst his criminal peers. Number 2. He opened the very first soup kitchen for the poor people of Chicago. The Great Depression was a serious worldwide economic depression that started in the United States and occurred in the 1920s, lasting throughout the late 1930s. It was the most far-reaching financially related epidemic of the entire 20th century. It began due to a nosedive in stock prices that started during the end of 1929 and was later appropriately coined as Black Tuesday. People suffered greatly because there was not enough job sources to meet their basic needs. It was during these high-reaching, despairing times that Al Capone officially opened the first original soup kitchens for the poor of his city of Chicago. Number 3. Capone's family members were respectable and law-abiding. Capone's mother and father were Italian immigrants who came to America with hopes of making a better life for themselves and their children. They were an everyday, average type of family and were very hardworking. They were honest folks who followed the law and were very devoted to their family. Capone was not born into a life of crime. He got into it all on his own and worked his way up in the world of criminal organizations by making contacts and with the aid of his many mentors, and made it all the way to the top of the underground syndicates as a crime boss in a self-made empire which he owned and managed viciously. Number 4. The Prohibition played a large role in Capone amassing his fortune. The Prohibition was a big part of how Capone made most of his money. He was so deeply involved with the illegal alcohol industry, he was known for blowing up bars, which he wouldn't hesitate to do if they refused to buy alcohol from him. He eventually rose to power and gained control over the criminal underground. Oddly enough, Capone stated to a journalist that he was actually against prohibition regardless of what most people thought. "It's a lousy racket for the retailer," he complained. "He's got to work 20 hours a day and spend everything he makes to keep the cops off him." Number 5. His net worth today is valued at $1.3 billion. It's said that Capone was managing over 600 gangsters, all of whom were under his control and who helped to protect his business from rival gangs. Due to inflation, his criminal empire would be worth about $1.3 billion today. He liked showing off his fortune and definitely loved the finer things in life. When entertaining, he would
$1.3 billion, chat. Oh my God, like, Jesus Christ.
was known to go all out on everything. He wore the most expensive, flashy clothing and jewelry that he could find and was very obsessed with it. He really enjoyed smoking fine cigars, and he was said to treat his guests by indulging them to excess. Capone's immense mansion in Miami Beach, Florida, just sold for $7.43 million back in August of 2016.
I just started using the free ad block from Capital One Shopping, and you need to too. It's a desktop extension that blocks all.
Number 6. Capone was stabbed in prison over a haircut.
Now. I know people fight in jail over food, but a haircut, my dog? That's why you'll never see me behind bars.
In 1934, while serving his time at Alcatraz prison, his boldness and swagger almost got him killed. Just 1 week after arriving at Alcatraz, Capone allegedly tried to cut in line during prison haircuts, but one guy just wasn't having it. A convicted bank robber, James Lucas, took Capone's disrespect and sense of entitlement badly and reacted by walking straight up to Capone, grabbing him by the throat and telling him to knock it off. When Capone boldly asked him, "Do you know who I am?" Lucas lost it and replied, "I know who you are, greaseball, and if you don't get to the back end of that line, I'm going to know who you were." After which, Lucas proceeded to stab Capone in his back and face with a broken pair of scissors. Luckily for Capone, the wounds were just superficial, not fatal. Number 7. Capone was responsible for the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929. On Valentine's Day in 1929, Capone ordered his men to dress as police officers and ambush a rival mob boss. About 70 rounds or so of ammunition had been fired, and 7 men were killed in the incident. Chicago police investigated, and while it was said that Capone had ordered the murders, it could not be proven. However, when the story hit newspapers and media, people worldwide were shocked by the brutality of the massacre and began to see Capone for the violent killer he actually was, rather than the nice, successful, and wealthy businessman who'd started a soup kitchen and donated to charities. This incident marked the beginning of his downfall. Number 8. He was dubbed Public Enemy Number 1 by newspapers back in 1929. The story of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre and Capone did not sit well with anyone, and the newspapers spread the scandal far and wide. People demanded justice, so the government acted and launched an investigation into Capone's criminal activities. When he failed to show up for court after being subpoenaed, a warrant was put out on him and the police arrested him on charges of contempt of court. However, frustrated investigators couldn't find enough evidence to lock him up for his crimes, and an investigation was opened up by the U.S. Treasury Department, who later found enough evidence to have him charged with tax evasion, for which he was sentenced to 11 years in prison back in 1931. Number 9. His family brought out the soft spot hidden within Capone. In spite of his hard exterior, Capone loved his wife, his children, and his family. He remarked to journalist Howard O'Brien he never wanted his own boys to get mixed up in the criminal racket that he was involved with. In his office were framed pictures of his family, and during an interview, he was overheard referring to himself as a kid when he spoke to his wife on the phone. In a letter that he wrote to his son from prison, he told him to stay strong, and he really wanted to see him and his wife again. He signed the letter with, "Love and kisses, your dear dad Alphonse Capone, number 85. Number 10. Capone collected expensive suits and jewelry to show off his wealth. Capone was known for buying the most expensive, lavish things he could find. One of his favorite indulgences was his stylized, classy appearance, so he often bought and wore very valuable suits, clothing, and jewelry. His suits alone were imported from Italy and cost him $500 each, which would now be valued at around $6,500. He loved very expensive jewelry such as diamond pinky rings and jewel-encrusted watches. Recently, in 2017, this gangster's diamond platinum pocket watch was sold at auction for an astounding $84,375. It was even rumored that a car he has had been previously ridden in by President Roosevelt, and the green 1928 Cadillac was sold in a 2012 auction and bought for an impressive $341,000.
I would have bought that.
Number 11. Capone has become the archetypal icon of a hardcore mobster and has lived on through print and film. In 1932, a movie loosely based around Capone was released. It was the original first version of the well-known, very popular Scarface films. The movie was such a hit that director Oliver Stone later remade it into the version that we all know and love today, which was released in December of 1983. Number 12. Tom Hardy is set to star as Al Capone in the upcoming film Fonzo. Tom Hardy is so good at playing the villain, he's been cast as Al Capone in the upcoming movie Fonzo, created by writer-director Josh Trank. This was announced in August 2018 and is being highly anticipated by fans. It truly goes to show that legends never die. Fonzo will be focused around the icon's battles with dementia after serving nearly 10 years in prison. It does not currently have a release date, but when Fandango tweeted about it, they announced that we could expect it sometime in 2019. Although we should note, the tweet was later deleted.
You can call me
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I ain't heard about that movie.
Cross. You're not in.
Number 13. Capone received 2,000 letters of fan mail each week.
What type of mobster receives fan mail? Boy. Hey, he got it.
Al Capone received around 2,000 letters of fan mail from adoring fans every week. Capone had always been a popular, strong personality, and he never shied away from the media, but rather seemed to enjoy being in the spotlight. He often did photo shoots and interviews like the one he did for Variety in 1931. The focus of the piece was the mob boss's reaction to all of the gangster films that were being released at the time. He had lots of fans, and they all seemed enthralled by him, and that fascination has endured for decades, making him a supremely popular gangster mob boss. Number 14. Capone had late-stage syphilis that went untreated.
Oh, shit.
Capone had the disease syphilis, most likely contracted at a brothel that he ran. The disease went untreated and later greatly contributed to his fast deterioration in prison. During that year at Alcatraz, he was staying in the prison's hospital because he went downhill so quickly, both in health and in mind. He spent much of his time in a confused, disoriented state of psychosis and was severely ill. Capone had a stroke in January of 1947 and was slowly recovering and regaining consciousness when he contracted pneumonia. It was downhill from there, and he passed away 3 days later on January 25, 1947, at his mansion in Florida, surrounded by his family. The official cause of death was cardiac arrest. Number 15. Capone made the mafia look attractive, and he has a loyal fan base. Thanks to Capone, some modern major crime organizations are still around. To this day, his stomping grounds in Chicago continues to suffer and have one of the largest crime rates in the U.S. We've seen gang culture become increasingly popular, and rather than disgust, it's greeted with responses of ever-increasing fans who think that Capone was an amazing man, and some even envy or look up to him. Scarface was an icon who tainted history with blood, gore, and gang violence that will stick with us to the end of time. Well, Aluxers, there you have it. Some interesting, lesser-known facts about the mafioso boss Al Capone. Now that you've learned some more about Capone, we'd love to know. Do you think that Capone really sympathized with the charities he donated to due to his poor beginnings? Or do you think it was just to present the image that he wanted to portray to the public? Let us know in the comments.
See, the thing with the games with back then and games nowadays, they ain't really worth shit. Gangs back then, they were actually gang banging on niggas and making money. The damn man was the damn man worth was $1.3 billion in the goddamn 1930s. Well, probably a loaf of bread was probably a penny. Hey, man, say. He got it, man. He got it. But alright, chat, man. Y'all make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, man. Turn on post notifications, man. Also, man, if you haven't watched all the other videos, man, please watch them, man. Like, comment, and subscribe on those videos, too, man. Put some in the chat, man. And also, man, DM me on IG what y'all want me to react to next, man. But in the meantime, I will catch y'all again. Yo, chat, this nigga Al Capone was on some shit, boy. I ain't gonna lie to you, boy. A goddamn mobster had fan mail. I ain't never heard that a day in my life. A mobster had fan mail. They must ain't know what he was doing, chat. It had to be. They must ain't know. They must ain't know what he was doing for real. But, yo, we gonna end up the stream right here, man. Your boy finna hit the hay, man. Finna do a little editing, man. Make sure I get these videos out to y'all, man. Like I said, man, we are on a 30-day streak of December, man. We are streaming and posting every day until we are satisfied, which will be never. But, hit the follow button. Tap into all my socials, man. And your boy T Smooth will catch y'all again, man. Love you.